My name is Abigael Kima from Kenya, Nairobi, and I am a climate justice advocate, and I do this through storytelling, so stories of hope, as well as highlighting the impacts of climate change in Africa. I have something short that I had written down, so I'll just read it out. The impacts of climate change have truly intensified, and for Africa, our narrative is different from the rest of the world. We know that we account for just about 3% of the global emissions, yet we are the most affected by the impacts of climate change. Where I come from, in Kenya, the weather patterns have changed drastically, threatening our main source of livelihood, as we are a country that is majorly dependent on rain-fed agriculture. Farmers continually experience losses because of the unpredictable weather patterns and have nobody to turn to for compensation. The rainy season is no longer something to look forward to, which is what we are experiencing right now, because that means loss of shelter, loss of businesses, diseases, and in some cases death owing to the raging floods. Last year, I managed to travel to the northern part of Kenya that is a semi-arid area, and these particular communities had not seen rain for the past 2 years, which meant that the main source of income, which is pastoralism, was completely depleted. I had the chance to watch children suffer from malnutrition, women traveling miles to find water for their families, and families eating in shifts because of food insecurity, which is beyond devastating. And I know the case is not any different for other countries in parts of Africa. My journey as an activist has come with a lot of pain because I have had the opportunity to witness just how bad things are for communities at the forefront of the impacts of climate change. Nonetheless, these experiences have given a whole new meaning to the work that I do because it reminds me that I am giving a voice to communities who otherwise do not have the same opportunities and platforms that I have. Storytelling for climate change, which is my main focus through the Hali-Hewa podcast, plays a crucial role in creating public awareness, elevating impactful stories of community and people-driven climate action, influencing behavior change and shaping public debate and policy on climate change. Last year, I had 2 very life-changing experiences. One was being in a monastery in Plum Village, and the second one was an audience with the Dalai Lama. And through these 2 experiences, I noticed that there needs to be a complete mindset change in how we approach the climate discourse. We've been doing the same thing for 27 years now, with little to show of it. And that's because we approach the discourse with our ego. And through these 2 experiences, I noticed that we can completely change this narrative by oneness, living as brothers and sisters, and looking at interconnection, love, compassion, and respect for one another. 5 of us were in the presence of the Dalai Lama, and we had very many complicated questions, and his answer was one. I think we all remember if you were there. He kept saying, let's live as brothers and sisters. Let's have oneness. Let's have love and compassion and respect for one another. And as activists, when we go to spaces, we come ready to fight because we find ourselves in very difficult rooms with people who we know are continuing to make the same decisions that bring negative impacts to the communities who are feeling the impacts of climate change to a great extent. And so how I do this instead and how it transformed my work is that I decided to tell human stories that inspire and in equal measure showcase the negative impacts of climate change. And in all this with the hope of touching the human heart by humanizing the climate crisis. And as I conclude, I believe that everyone has a responsibility and a part to play. I don't know if we know the late Professor Wangari Maathai, who serves as an inspiration to many of us, and she used to tell a story of the hummingbird, where it reminds us of the story, or the lesson that we draw from it is that no action is too little, because there was that bird that went into the river and picked drops of water to try and stop a forest fire, yet other bigger animals were just watching as this little bird tried to do his little action. So in everything that we do, let's remember whether it's our role in creating awareness, whether it's our role in showing love to one another, at the end of the day, we're going to solve the many challenges which can be frustrating, which includes the inaction towards climate change, where fossil fuel companies continue to make profits of communities at the forefront of the impacts of climate change. And lastly, I have also realized that sometimes the doom narrative can be discouraging to people and cause them to detach. So alternatively, let's tell stories where communities who are often seen as victims, let's showcase their stories where they're doing splendid work in coming together and trying to create change within their communities. Thank you so much.